Hi everyone, this is Alex Holland, and I'm here to talk to you about the month of January. We've got the first shows coming up here soon, and we're all a little nervous, we're all a little stressed, and I've got some good advice for you to hopefully get through this month and feel good about it. So first of all, what should I be practicing in January? When you show up to practice, what should your focus be with the kids? Am I filling? Am I cleaning? Am I whatever? My answer to this is that there should be a balance of everything going on right now. There should be a very large focus on filling choreography. Obviously, as we're getting towards competition season, we want to get the bulk of our writing done right now so we can settle into it as the season moves along. So I would say most rehearsals should have a component of choreography at some point. This is also not the time to be skipping training at all. That you should build in time at every practice to spend at least a little bit of time doing your technique program, doing your training before you get into the show. Skipping that is not going to work in the long run. It's not going to benefit you in the long run. Another thing you may want to talk about starting now is performance and confidence as you go into the competition season. The kids getting in front of other people is going to be a shock to them sometimes for the first time. And so the earlier you can start talking about this, the better. And I could probably talk for a long time about this, but there's a lot of ways to get your kids to perform more. And it starts at practice. So you could work on choreographing the performance into their show. You could tell them, oh, at this moment, we need a big open mouth smile right here on this note. Show them how to do it, choreograph it in there. You can also talk to them about the entire show and what the mood you're trying to get across is throughout and how that ties in with the soundtrack. And they may be able to then act it out a little bit better and get that to come to life. And you just don't want to wait too long to start talking about this because it does take a while to get kids to be at the level that we want them to be at. And talking to them about confidence as performers is really important as well. You're going to put them in a gym in front of hundreds of people. And if they've never done that before, that can be a very nerve-wracking experience. So giving them advice on how to deal with those nerves and what to do with that energy and all of that is going to be really helpful as you move into competition season. You should also be doing full run-throughs. You should be going through your entire show. And even if there's large sections without any choreography in them, you should just run it like there is choreography so the kids can sort of get in that feeling of what doing 4, 5, 6 minutes of show feels like, so that when you get to the first show, again, no shock there. The second thing I want to talk to you about is going to the first show. I put out a video last year that walks you through an entire show day and how you should move through the flow and everything, so I'm going to have that sent out in this email along with this video so you can take a look at that to review. But one of the best things you can do for yourself is to have a plan ahead of time. You want to gather all of the information you possibly can about what a show day consists of, and then you want to use all of your resources, and you want to lay down a plan. And you want to start thinking about this sooner than later because there can be a lot of moving parts to these show day plans. One of which is your parent team that you may be taking with your group. You want to have a parent meeting probably before you get to the first show so that everybody knows what their roles are, everybody's assigned. You may want to practice running through on and off the floor with all of the parents there. You could have a meeting at the beginning of practice while everybody gets started. You could bring the parents into the gym and then you could walk your way through the entire thing so that everybody's on the same page. And basically, you just really want to know what's happening. The first show day is not the day that you want to show up and have any surprises come your way. You want to be as prepared as you possibly can be. Another thing to consider is how early you want to get to the show. So the draft schedules of the first couple show weekends are already out for you to see. So you could already be making a plan of how you want that day to go. If you don't have everything you need for your competitive show just yet, if you don't have costumes, if you don't have show silks, if you don't have your tarp, you also want to have a plan so that when you go out on the floor for this first show, that you're as put together and as professional as you can be. So what a lot of people do if you don't have your costumes is you wear show blacks. So these are oftentimes just tight black fitted clothing, dance wear that you can move in easily, that covers up as much skin as you'd like to have covered up, and that has no logos typically on it, just so that even if you don't have your competition uniform, you at least look uniform as a team. So now would be a good time to start talking to your team about gathering those clothes. We always have them come in and show us just to make sure nobody shows up on the day of the show with something either inappropriate or not what you were thinking for them. So you may want to start talking to them about that now. And then if you don't have show silks, I would just say pick out some silks that maybe are close in the family of colors to what you're going to have eventually. You want to have a clean set of silks, you don't want to have dirty silks. And lastly, if you don't have your show tarp, you've probably been rehearsing on something. It's totally acceptable to bring whatever you've been using and just make sure that it's clean and looking presentable. The third thing I want to talk to you about is a big question we hear this time of year. How much of my show do I do at the first show? So it's kind of a tough question to answer, and you probably know the answer better than I do, but a good rule of thumb is you don't want to go out to the first show doing anything that's unreadable. So depending on what class you're in, you may want to make a different decision. So in the lower classes, it should be prioritized to have good training, to be clear, to be concise. So it may be riskier in the lower classes to put more show out that is less readable as far as competition is concerned. But if you're in the higher classes, you might want to go out and do a little bit more, knowing that there might be some dirt in there, but just to get more out there. So for the majority of the groups here in NEPA, I would say that you should probably try to shoot for at least half your show, if that's possible. And like I said, don't do anything completely unreadable. So if you've got like a section of flags that are all going to throw some toss, and you know that they're going to get it, but it's going to take 2 more weeks. So when 6 of them throw this toss, 3 of them might drop it, and 1 girl, it might be like the wrong amount of rotation or something like that. That's probably not what you want to put out in front of people. So you may not want to go that far into the show. You also might want to put small edits throughout the show that makes your show readable enough for the first show, and then have a plan of how you're going to put those things back in. So what I like to do in this moment is I like to look at everything that they're doing, and if there's something that I feel like they're not ready to do in front of people, I may take the rotation down. I might take the body out, but I tell the kids, listen, as soon as Monday comes back around, this is back in. It's just for this weekend. So they know it's not forever. It's just so they can go out and have a decent show. And that's just as important for the kids as it is for you as the instructor. I want my show to be evaluated as honestly as possible and with putting a good foot forward. The kids also don't want to go on the floor doing anything that they're very uncomfortable doing. So you can kind of mitigate those feelings by maybe tapering some things back. Luckily, for the first 2 weeks of our competitive season, there are no timing penalties that are assessed. So the rest of the penalties are still there. The boundary lines, just illegal things on the performance floor, all of that is still in effect, but all of the timing guidelines are waived for the first 2 weeks. So you're able to do whatever amount of show you're comfortable doing. But if you decide to do a small amount of your show, just have a good plan so that by that 3rd week of competition, or by the time that you do a show after those 2 weeks, you have enough so that you're not getting penalized for that. And if you decide that you don't want to do your entire show at the first competition, you can do one of 2 things with your music. You can either, when your kids are done, they'll stop moving, and then if you are with the timing and penalties judge, or if you have talked to the sound table ahead of time at sound check, you can signal to the sound table that you would like to be done. So you can give them a little wave. I recommend everybody does sound check, and so if you've done that, you can talk to the person, tell them, hey, we're not going to do our whole show, so here's going to be where I'm going to be standing, and I'm going to wave at you, and then I want you to stop it when I wave. And this is a really regular thing for the sound engineer, so that won't be uncomfortable for them. They will know to look for you. And the other option that we use sometimes is you can actually put a fake ending in your soundtrack, so you can fade it out at the end and make a version of your soundtrack that you can submit on Competition Suite, so that it just automatically stops, and then it's one less thing that you have to worry about on that show day. And the final thing I want to talk to you about is what to do after you're done performing. So a great tool and a great thing is letting the kids go and watch their competitors. And sometimes it's hard to get back in for the class that you yourself are in, but it's certainly possible to get back in the gym to watch the classes above yourself. And this can be really inspirational to the kids. They can find their favorite shows, they can find skills that they really enjoyed, they can find what other groups did really well and bring some of that energy to your own group. And especially watching the independent guards, the really, really good color guards, that can be so beneficial for the kids. So if your schedule allows it, try to let them back in the gym and let them sit together as a team and watch some of those groups. It can also be a very good team building moment for them to sit together like that and recreationally watch the activity that we all enjoy. It can kind of bring them together in a fun way. You'll also want to listen to your judges' tapes as soon as you can. Sometimes this is hard, like in schools with bad reception and that sort of thing, but honestly, as an instructor, it may be worth going out to your car and sitting there and listening to them so that you can get the information from those tapes before you go into critique. And after you've listened to the tapes, you should go to critique. It's really important. And I'm going to make a separate video about critique, but it's a really great time for you to sit down with the judges and ask for clarification on things, defend your show, you can explain yourself. There's a lot of different things you can do in that room. And so make sure that you've signed up for that. That sign up is due the morning of the show, but the earlier the better. So you'll see emails about that come out from John Shaw. But you want to sign up for critique. You want to listen to your tapes, and then you want to go to critique at your time and sit down with those judges and get the feedback you need so you can improve your show. And the last thing that you want to do after you've gotten out of critique is you want to sit down with your staff and you want to make a plan for the next rehearsals until your next competition. So we will oftentimes sit down and let's say that we're at a Sunday show. We're like, okay, we've got a Tuesday, we've got a Thursday, we've got a Saturday, and then we have another show next Sunday. So how do we want these 3 rehearsal days to go? Okay, we know that the judges didn't like a part of our show today, and we decided we want to change it up a little bit. So changes, in my opinion, should go in as early as possible. So Tuesday, we're going to do the changes we want to do. Or, because it's early in the season, Tuesday we want to tack on a little bit more of the show. We want to rehearse that part 4 that we didn't do at the first show. So your big project, I would say early in the week you want to take care of. Then Thursday, maybe we get the gym on Thursday and we don't have the gym on Tuesday. Then that's a great day to put the whole show back together, take a look at it, maybe do some filling along the way since we still have Saturday to rehearse. And then Saturday, the day before the show, I would say that's mostly like an ensemble rehearsal. We want to be boosting the kids up, not really teaching new things. That's a good day. I always like to use those days for maybe small projects, like maybe a soloist needs a bit of a tweak or a soloist needs a bit more in a part. They could probably handle that. But as far as large, big picture changes, that shouldn't be happening on that Saturday. And then that leaves Sunday morning before the show. You can just kind of do whatever your show day sort of prep is, your show day practice is. And you don't have to worry about making any changes at that point. And so I would repeat this process after every competition that you go to so that throughout the season you're always evaluating, okay, here's X amount of hours we have. We know that these are the things that we want to get done in this week before our next show. And so how are we going to make that happen? So hopefully these things help you out, and just know everybody is stressed in January and everybody is trying to figure out what's the best thing to do. And there's a lot of great answers and there's a lot of wrong answers, but as long as you're working hard and you're being really mindful of the plan you have and where you want to be, you will make it. You will get through this month and we will get to February and the show will start to look better.